Netcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the podcast version of Trey's Variety Hour is brought to you by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Trey. Welcome to the Hangout. I'm coming to you live from the British Virgin Islands. I hope my bandwidth holds up okay. Much later in the show, I'll show you some photos from here in Virgin Gorda. That's sort of a little bonus time if you're interested. But tonight's show will be most excellent. I have sort of a special co-host tonight in Karen Hutton. Since I didn't know if I would have bandwidth or not, she went through all the trouble of setting up a show. She was going to be sort of my Gary Shandling, my stand-in. So instead of being my Gary Shandling tonight, she'll be sort of my Andy Richter and helping me to run the show. Karen, what is the topic for tonight?
The topic for tonight is social media and new opportunities for artists.
Ah, social media. That will be big someday.
So I hear.
So what we'll do, here's sort of the order of operations so people know what's going on. We'll go through and people here will introduce themselves and, you can plug away whatever you want to plug. I have a few housekeeping things to do, including announcing a winner of 2 free passes to the Google Plus Developers Conference with Scott Kelby in San Francisco, coming up very soon. A few other little housekeeping things that are sort of fun. And then we'll launch right into the discussion. After the discussion, we will end with our Google Plus photographer discoveries. We're always finding new people. We want to share them and get them circled up and get them some circle love. And then for the little bonus time at the end, I'll show you a bunch of new unpublished photos that I've just taken over the past few days down here in Virgin Gorda. Okay, so let's start with introductions. Let's go just kind of left to right because this is arbitrary as any other ranking. So let's start with Mr. Brian Matiash in Portland,
Oregon. Close with the pronunciation. It's
damn it. I'm sorry.
It's
Brian Matiash.
It's what makes us human.
I'm sorry, Brian.
No worries.
I just call you Brian, though.
Brian works.
Yeah.
Brian. My name is Brian Matiash. I'm a photographer, and I'm also the curriculum and education manager at On One Software, makers of the fine, perfect photo suite. Oh, it's inverted on my screen. Oh, cool. I'm excited to also hang out with Trey and a few others at the Google Plus Photographers Conference in May in a couple of weeks. And you can find my profile at plusbrian.com.
Hey, cool. Brian, I'm going to throw something. Just while we didn't discuss this beforehand, but can we give a free copy of On One to a commenter?
You can give this copy if you'd like.
Ooh.
All right. Okay. So if you want to win that copy that's been touched by Brian.
Oh, has it been touched?
Touched by an angel.
It's even more valuable. Just leave a comment in my stream there on Google Plus. And Brian will pick a random person, probably in the next 24 hours. And no, let's give it 48 hours because these comments carry over to YouTube. Just pick a random winner, and there you go. Okay, thank you, Brian, for just succumbing to that crazy idea.
It's my pleasure to succumb.
All right, mark that day for our feature reel. Okay, all right, Chris. Chris from Google, tell us about you.
Well, so my introduction is going to be way boring because I'm not planning on doing any subcomming at the moment. But so I manage the Google Plus Developers Relations team, so I work for Google Plus itself. So the product I'd like to promote is Google Plus, but I kind of figure everybody here is already registered to Google Plus, so I'll leave it at that.
What's Google Plus?
It's this wonderful social network that Google's working on.
Chris, do you have any Google stock to give away?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, excellent. Who is next? That is Ivan.
That would be me. Ivan Makarov, photographer based out of Bay Area. I'm in San Jose, and I work in Mountain View for SmugMug. And that's me.
Thank you, Ivan. Actually, I just found out that he went to work at SmugMug. His background looked all SmugMuggy, and then he was wearing that SmugMug. I'm trying to talk him into changing that logo with Comic Sans. Come on.
They did. They changed it, Trey.
Yeah.
It's not Comic Sans anymore.
It's not. It looks like Comic Sans.
Well, the face is. It's the little face, but that's it. The text is not anymore.
It's Comic Sans-like, isn't it? Oh, it's a little bit more...
It's nice now.
It's a little bit more Helvetica, I guess.
Yeah,
that's true.
Was a change.
Okay.
But I was thinking, why don't we give away a hat, not this hat, but a new hat, to one of our commenters.
All right.
Like this one?
Good. We have 2 giveaways going on. Everyone, join in. Excellent. Thanks, Ivan. And Ivan is here for a very special reason. We'll find out when we get to the big discussion. So many surprises we're holding back. Okay, Jaime, your turn.
Hi, can you hear me? I've been having microphone problems earlier. Are we good?
Yeah, we hear you good.
Okay, my name is Jaime Ibarra. I am a photographer and musician and just artist, I guess, all around. I live in Austin, Texas, where Trey lives, and I just make art. I make pretty things, and I'm back, I think, for my second time on your show, Trey, so thank you.
Sure, thank you. I'm always happy to see you. Karen, hello.
Hello, Trey. How are you? I'm going to talk like this the whole time. Is that okay with you? Hi, I'm Karen Hutton. I'm a voiceover professional and a photographer. You can find my voiceover work at KarenHutton.com and my photography at lifeislightphotography.com. I'm the voice of, what is that app? Trey, help me out here. Stuck on
Saturn.
Earth? Yeah, Stuck on Earth. I'm the voice
Stuck on Earth.
Yeah,
a great app. Everyone go get that for your iPad. It's free. Free as a bird.
Free as a bird, and you'll make friends, and it'll be fantastic. So that's me. I also host a show called Life Through the Lens, along with Kelly and a bunch of other co-hosts on Google Plus every other Tuesday. And she has a little more to add to that, which she will do in a minute. I just want to say hi.
All right. And speaking of Kelly, there she is, right by you.
Hello, I am Kelli Seeger Kim, and I am a macro photographer and stay-at-home mom. I co-curate Macro Monday with Carrie Murphy and Jennifer Eden on Google+. And I am, like Karen said, one of the co-hosts of Life Through the Lens, a bi-weekly show every other Tuesday on Google+. The other co-hosts are Tamara Prusner, Carrie Murphy, Tana Teal, Anna Wynn, and Ron Clifford. If you want to see any of my work, you can find it on my Google Plus profile page.
And we are doing a new thing on that show, a little giveaway, Kelly. What is that?
Something. Yeah,
we're doing a little giveaway. Every show, we're giving away another copy of the On One Perfect Suite.
Yes, because Brian Matiash is that awesome, right?
Brian Matiash is everywhere you want to be.
Like a bad rash.
I have cream for that.
Oh, where to go with that?
Straight to you-know-where.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of creams and ointments, let's say hello to Tony Wang.
Hello, I'm Tony Wang.
Hi, Tony.
I'm a producer and editor here at TWiT, and I produce a photo show here called TWiT Photo, and that's hosted by Catherine Hall and Leo Laporte.
Cool. Thanks, Tony. And Dave Veffer, my wonderful producer. Hey, Dave.
Hello, Trey. Everybody can find me at plusdave.com.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Karen, for getting all these wonderful guests in. I'm honored to be among such interesting. I didn't have to do anything this week. I just kind of showed up. So let me do a few housekeeping things here before we jump into the discussion about social media and all that nonsense. We have a winner for this giveaway. for the Google Plus developers or Google Plus Photographers Conference in San Francisco. The winner from all of those comments is Sly Vegas.
Whoa,
Sly.
Hey,
Sly. Go Sly. Woo.
Yeah.
Sly's super active on Google Plus. I met him I only talked to him for under 60 seconds at a photo walk. Just like so many people that I met at various photo walks. I wish I got to talk to people for longer, but it's just kind of physically impossible. But I hope to have the chance to talk with Sly more in San Francisco, and I hope when he signs up, he joins me for my photo walk. That'll be great.
Which is Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday.
That Tuesday?
That Tuesday. I believe that is the 26th, is it?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I'm flying in from New Zealand just for that event, so that'll be very, very exciting.
Or maybe it's Monday, because I think the conference is Tuesday, Wednesday, and your photo walk is on Monday, I believe.
You don't confuse people, Karen. You're confusing people.
I can't help it. It's just
You're
one of my
confusing
gifts.
me.
Well, it's my gift, and you're welcome. No, you don't have to thank me. Really.
All right, now here's another thing. I'm going to share this. So over at, where's my browser? Oh, here we go. I'm sharing my screen here. Let me jump over to Stuck in Customs. So, here on the blog, every day I put up a new photo from a different part of the world. And I talk a little bit about it. But sometimes we make changes to the back end, to pages that no one ever really sees. So I want to tell you guys about one. This really won't be of use if you're a pretty hardcore photographer, but if you're just getting into it, the most common question I get is, what camera should I get? So up here at the top, you can click this button that says Stuff You Need, okay? And that'll take you over here. And on the Stuff You Need page, it says, what does a man or woman need in life? Food, shelter, and love. It says, okay, I have that. Now I need more. Of course you do. That's why I have all this stuff listed here. And so if you scroll down a little bit, I've separated, out of the thousands of cameras out there, I've separated them into good, better, and best. Okay, I happen to have bought for myself the Sony NEX7 and the D800, so I have extended reviews on each of these. And so this is sort of a big change for me because I had this good, better, and best for previous years, and usually it's been very DSLR heavy. And now, as you can see, the good and better cameras are not DSLRs. The best one is still a DSLR. But the nature of this list is changing, and I do my best to keep it updated because things change so quickly. All right, so that's that. And let me unscreen share here. And speaking of that Sony NEX7, if you hang on to the end of the show, to the bonus time, I'll show several new photos that I've taken from here over the past few days using that Sony NEX7. And you can see some of its capabilities. Some shots are straight out of the camera. Some I've added some Lightroom. I'll show you what the in-camera HDR looks like. It's kind of hit or miss, but when it hits, it's actually pretty cool. Anyway, so that'll be a nice little thing at the end. All right, let's get into the main topic at hand, social media. So, Karen, I'm going to kind of hand over most of the show here to you because I know you prepared a lot of questions. You invited all these excellent guests, and you've given this a lot of thought. So I'll just kind of be another guest, and feel free to ask me anything or whatever you like. But basically, I'm handing things over to you, and to you I handed them thusly.
Wow, and your hands are not even shaking. That's crazy. Well, I thought, as a way to kick off the evening's discussion, we have Ivan Makarov here. Now, Ivan is the mastermind behind... Am I holding it up the right way?
Upside down.
Upside down. Awesome. This fantastic book, Plus One Collection, to me is at least our first and hopefully not last tangible evidence that social media and artists can make a big change in the world. And Ivan spearheaded this project, and so we wanted to have him talk a little bit more about it and see how it was going, a little update, and he has some news. Ivan?
Sure. And as you might have heard, this book was published about, it seemed like an eternity ago, but it was only a couple of months ago. And we published this community book as an effort where we said, why don't we get a book together, and why don't we publish it and donate the proceeds to a good cause? And this will hopefully make sure that not just the photographers buy the book, but also their families and people who are not in the project and so forth. And that turned out to be a good idea, because we had a reach out that went way beyond our little photography community in Google Plus, where we had newspapers that were interested in what we were doing. NBC was interested in what we were doing. And just in general, when I look through the sales log to see who bought the book, I can't recognize most of the names, because the people that were buying the book were not photographers that were in the book, but someone else, whether it was photographers in Google Plus or whether it was people outside of Google Plus, because we were able to reach the masses through publicity we got in the newspapers and on TV. We had quite a bit of other people who were interested in the project. And so that turned out to be a fun little publication we did, and we're still making sales now every week, almost every day. We're making sales and raising more money. Thus far, a question I get frequently: how much money we were able to raise? I don't have the exact number, because I still need to sit down and do all the accounting for it. Imagine that. It's not the funnest part of the project. But somewhere in the neighborhood of $13,000 is what we've raised so far.
And this is going to Kiva.
This is going to Kiva, correct. We just actually mailed our first check to Kiva for $5,000, and we will continue to send them the money during the year as we keep raising them.
And Trey, you were the first person that I ever saw at Kiva. You were talking about them a long time ago, and they do, what do they do?
Well, Kiva's great. I started a team. We have a team stuck in customs that's competing with Ivan's team.
Great.
Yeah, I think we got up to we're over $15,000 now. But yeah, Kiva's great, because what it is instead of just donating money to a charity, which is fine and everything, it's kind of like eBay for entrepreneurs around the world. You know, that there might be somebody in Bolivia that wants $200 to expand your potato farm. That's just an example. You know, there might be a guy in Lebanon who wants to raise $500 so he can expand his motorcycle repair shop. I mean, you name it. It's all over the world, just small entrepreneurs. And you can put as little as $20 in, and everything gets funded very quickly. It's kind of fun to watch it, because you can actually watch stuff get... It's like Kickstarter in a way. It was Kickstarter before Kickstarter was cool, and it's a great way to get money to to sort of these Type A personalities all around the world that are trying hard and trying, not depending on government. They're depending on themselves. They're depending on other Type A people like us to support them, and I think this is the way to go. So I think Cuba's great.
Yeah, it's a great organization. I was able to. I knew about them for a while, and now that we got involved the other day, I decided, well, let's put a loan here out there. And I put a $25 loan to somebody in one of those countries, one of the South American countries. Let's just say it was Bolivia. And a month later, I got an email saying part of the loan was repaid. Project was fully funded. This guy has a hairdressing salon that he's trying to run. And he paid me back. So it's a great organization that it really enables people to go and catch fish themselves rather than we're giving them the fish, if we use the old analogy.
And so beyond the book, you now have something new in this project, which is very encompassing, this project is.
Yeah, well, let me give you a little bit of a background here. When we started doing the book, besides all these great photographers that came to me and said, hey, we want to help with photography or with book creation and so forth, there are also other people that came out and were very helpful in the sense that they identified all the risks of doing a project like this. One of the risks was taxes. They said, well, you need to really figure it out, because you don't want IRS to send you the bill later for all the money that you've collected as an income to you. Even if you're donated, it's still an income. And I said, well, okay, let me think about this. And so what we went and what we went and did to protect this, we actually formed a nonprofit organization, a charity, not charity, but in a sense, nonprofit organization, and we're now in the middle of applying for exempt status. So this way, it's guaranteed that whatever money we collect will not be taxed by the IRS. So part of that is actually means that we have to keep doing these kinds of projects. So we have an active organization, and we thought, well, what else we can do? Let's think about this. Obviously, we can do a book, but that's more of a once-a-year thing. And now that we've done one, we can streamline a lot of it. And when we do another one, it won't take long. What's something else we can do? And the idea that was there to, well, why don't we throw a charity? Why don't we throw a magazine together? So a bit of an offshoot from what we're doing with the book, but in the form of a magazine where we could have articles, we could have photo essays, and so forth. And this idea was born to create a +1 magazine, and we're just starting to get going with it. I keep getting emails from our designer who designed the book, Andy Lee, who says, hey, really anxious to get started. And I said, okay, let's get it done. And so this month, probably in the next 2-3 weeks, we'll spend organizing the material, contacting photographers, contacting people who can write articles and so forth. And we'll have our first community Google Plus magazine. How's that, Chris?
Fantastic.
That is very cool.
You said it. It's weekly, it's monthly. Say it one more time.
Well, we don't know how often it's going to be, but perhaps quarterly or something is what we're thinking about right now.
And it has there's a website, or there will be a website?
We don't have a website yet. We'll set it up probably as part of the +1collection.com somewhere there.
Is this a real magazine, or is this an online magazine?
It will be both. I'm an old-fashioned guy who likes to collect books and magazines and so forth. And so I want to produce something that can be printed because I think there's something about photography, the way it's appearing in print. But we'll also obviously have an ebook or e-version of the magazine that people can purchase, that people that live far away or they don't want to pay for printing costs and so forth. So we'll have both versions.
That is very, very cool. And that is a perfect lead-in to my first question for everybody. And one of the reasons why I wanted to gather this particular group, because I'm curious, from all of your points of view who are here, what do you think the single most, if you can boil it down to a single most important change or opportunity that you have seen, or the opportunity, role, or change that you've seen social media provide for artists? And we can start with Brian. We can just go one way and then the other way.
Well, I was actually just talking to Nicole, so I want to know if you can repeat that.
Yep.
I heard my name, I'm like, oh.
I knew that.
Welcome back.
Make sure nobody's nodding off. So
I'm talking about having a side chair right now, too.
Are we back now?
We're back.
So the question is, what do you think the single most, or if there's a couple most important either opportunities, changes, or roles that social media plays in the lives of artists at this point, like to date?
I mean, without a doubt, social media gave a forum for anyone who was willing to kind of take advantage of it, especially early on, to build their own brand and make an identity for themselves, where previously it would have been significantly harder. The barrier to entry would have been much greater. So with social media, as long as you couple a unique brand, high quality art, product, whatever it is, and then consistency in that, I find that you have people, everyone here is a product for the most part of utilizing social media to a positive way. And again, the +1 book was a sterling example of that. You know, it was of the people, by the people, for the people. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people are out there just trying to figure out what. We know that social media is here. It's this ocean that everyone kind of can cast their own ripples or their own waves, and people are just trying to figure out how to do that. Mm-hmm. Still. So.
Yeah, Chris.
So, well, you knew when you invited me, I was going to have a lot of long stories because this is kind of my cup of tea, right? This is where my eyes light up and I go, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" But I'll start with a small one. One of my favorite stories, most inspiring stories still, is a director who won the Cannes Film Festival a couple of years ago. And in itself, that's nothing unique, but this was a 14-year-old boy who lived in the Czech Republic. So that's relatively unique because usually you have to live in Hollywood. You need to know the right people. You need to have really expensive equipment and have access to tens of thousands of dollars, really expensive equipment to be able to make a movie that actually wins an award, right? Mm-hmm. That was clearly not the case here. So what this kid did instead was he had an iPhone and he had a YouTube account. He thought it would be fun to make a movie. He uploaded it to YouTube. There were a bunch of people there who kind of saw something interesting in it. He got inspired to make the next movie, and talking to his audience and refining his art constantly, he became this really amazing storyteller with nothing but an iPhone and a YouTube account.
At 14.
At 14. He started at like 12. And the thing that inspires me endlessly about that story is that, like I said, normally you would have to live near Hollywood and your dad would have to be some rich guy. And this completely broke open the way that people can learn their craft, the way they can find an audience, the way they can refine their skills. And we're seeing that on Google Plus every day as well, where people are getting inspired because they see somebody's image and they go, wow, I want to be able to make that. And then they talk to the person who made that image. They get some suggestions. They go out and practice. Their audience likes it as well. And you've got this magic happening where suddenly people are developing skills they never would have before unless they went to like an official school or they knew the right people. So for me, the key takeaway is the biggest change in social media for artists is that everybody can be an artist now. You don't need to have the right tools or money or anything else. Everybody can become whatever they're meant to become and what they're passionate about. That's a pretty big change.
And it's not just photographers either, because we're seeing singers and musicians and writers.
Just look at Daria Musk, for instance. She's one of my favorite Google Plus stories where she was playing for like 10 people in a shady bar and she was dragging her equipment all over, paying her dues, hoping to someday make it as an artist, right? And then Google Plus came around, she got invited, she saw Hangouts and she went, hey, wait a minute. There's some magic here. There's some potential here. She organized this concert and she had a few people in the room and there was 10 people in the Hangout. Then about an hour in, one person left and another person came in. And that person said, there's hundreds of people waiting to see what you're doing. She had no idea because she was playing in a Hangout. She wasn't looking to what was happening on Google Plus, right? So that night she played like 12 hours in a row and people kept cycling in. And she's kind of a big deal on Google Plus. And it's just one of those stories where you go, the impossible now has become common day normalcy. And that's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point, though, with that, Chris, because it's not the artist is, an artist, maybe the social media aspect helps an artist kind of find their muse and also obviously helps them share. But all these examples that you give illustrate the artist not only being a creative, but also as someone who's very not aggressive, but kind of like Trey said, to a degree, a type A personality because they have the tools. We all have ready access to these tools. We're all here. Everyone's watching us. We have Google Plus, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have everything. It's the people who not only take that the art, that craft, and share it, but also really kind of attack it and again, going out and sharing and constantly building that brand. That's where you see these success stories too. And I think you illustrate that really nicely with the YouTube channel. So, yeah.
And that's kind of true nowadays, right? I mean, on the one hand, finding an audience is easier than ever because you don't need to own a printing press or a broadcasting tower or a movie cinema to be able to reach an audience. The audience is already out there, and as long as you create something that people like, the audience will find you and you can engage with them and keep growing that audience. Absolutely. On the other hand, I think that also means that marketing has become slightly more important than it was maybe back in the day when other people did that marketing for you. Because you do need to go out there. You do need to make sure that people can see your work. So that's definitely a critical component of it. Agreed.
Absolutely.
And there's enough people. I mean, I know a few photographers who are amazing photographers, but they're unfortunately not making as much as a living as I wish they would, because they do create amazing art. And the thing that's often holding them back is that they don't have that marketing sense. And they don't have somebody who contributes the marketing sense to them, right? So art in itself isn't enough to make a living, I guess. You need to be able to make sure that people pay for it as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yvonne, do you want to add to this, or do you feel like you've said your piece with
I'll add a little something I've learned in the last few months while doing this fundraising for Plus One collection. I've done a couple other small fundraising. I actually started one today for a friend of ours who has a rare disease, cystic fibrosis. You can see it on my page. I'm just blown away by how generous the photography community is. Just when we started doing the book, it's not just the people were willing to give us licenses to their photos for publication of the book, but it's also how many of them actually paid the high price to buy the book or had their family pay, or how many people are just willing to share to help a good cause. That's been a really marvelous discovery for me, because I think as much as we enjoy company of each other on social networks or in Google Hangouts and so forth, it's still not as personal as meeting people in real life. But I think in the last 12 months or so, we've made it great strides to be closer as a community, and we see things like this happen. Just to give you a very simple example, I have here two big prints. I should probably show it to you guys.
Oh. Rockstar.
By Patrick Smith, who is one of the better-known photographers on Google+. I have it back. So I just emailed him talking about my fundraiser, and he responded and said, "Hey, I have a couple of prints I can donate to you that you can auction off." So
that's beautiful.
Giant prints, very nicely custom framed, and he just dropped them off today at my place and said, "You can use it." So for me, this kind of a response is just nothing short of amazing. I think social networks and especially ability to communicate in person like we are right now made the whole experience a lot more personal.
I think Hangouts has changed the game in so many ways.
Definitely.
Yeah. Jaime?
What?
What do you think there, son?
How you doing?
Good.
I mean, I'm always like the quiet guy in the back of the class of these things, because sorry, it's not because I don't want to talk.
Well, you have had huge success with social media, and so this question of what do you think the most important change or opportunity or role that social media has played in your success and in audiences finding your work, which is very unique.
I mean, I can speak in both from a photography point of view, and I can also speak as a musician as well. Mm-hmm. And I swear, I pinch myself every day when I wake up. This is amazing. Like I've been able to ditch record labels. I don't need my record label support to do the new CD I've been working on. That is tremendous. Just that alone is like, that to me says everything I need to say. I'm not reliant on anybody really anymore. Like, you in 10, 15 years ago, if you're a musician, you need that record label because you need their distribution channels, you need their marketing channels. You don't need those anymore. As far as photography is concerned, 2006, just to tell you, like, I don't think anybody knew who I was. I was pretty much a relative obscurity, and thanks to a few different social networking sites, it just exploded. And I'm just gobsmacked when I look at the reality of that. So
you're really active on Google+, but you have art on DeviantArt that's had like 2 million hits or something like this. Yeah,
DeviantArt's been huge for me. I'm a newcomer to Google+, admittedly, and it's something that I want to find more time to delve into, because I could see it's just as amazing a tool. I just haven't had the time to get in and experiment with it. But like DeviantArt, and there's like 500px.com, and I mean, there's so many awesome social networking sites for photographers out there. And I don't know, it's done so much for me. It's, I guess, I think a few other people have said already today, when you're getting that real-time feedback from the people that are following your work, like as an artist, it kind of helps you kind of custom tailor your art a little bit, because now you know what people are wanting to see. Mm-hmm. And most artists will go, no, I don't care what anybody wants, and I'm just gonna shoot, I'm just gonna do what I do for me, and that's bull pucky. Like, that's not true. Like, I think that with the feedback of the people that admire your work and the people that follow you and support you, you're creating something that not only appeals more to them, but I think that you're creating art, or like music, photography, whatever, that has more of a universal appeal. If you let the people that are following you on these sites, act as sort of representative of other people in the world, because I think you have like DeviantArt. There's such a wide demographic of artists on there. There's kids. I mean, there's 12-year-old kids and up, like way up, and so I mean, you're hearing from so many different people from so many different parts of the planet, and ultimately that can only be a good thing, and I don't know, it's just I'm like I said, I pinch myself every day.
Yeah.
Like, one of the, sorry for interrupting, Caro, one of the stories he reminded me of is like Instagram, that's kind of the big buzz in the Valley right now. They sold for $1 billion, which is quite of an impressive amount. And the thing that I always found made Instagram a magical kind of environment is that they pick up the phone, they take a picture, they apply a cool filter to it, and it's kind of art. I put air quotes in it because it's their first picture, and the first picture is always not your best picture ever, right? But then they upload it, they get some comments and some likes, and then they go to see the popular pictures, and they kind of learn what is cool within Instagram, and as they keep going through their process, they keep seeing, well, this is what resonates with this community. They've got these live examples of what works in that environment. They keep honing their own skills, and before you know it, they become an artist within that community as well. And a DeviantArt is kind of the same thing in Google Plus as well, where people aren't just picking up a camera, they're instantly an artist, but because of that feedback loop, because you have the examples of what works and what makes really good art and what resonates with your audience. And you constantly push stuff out there where you get the reward every time you improve a little bit. People really get pushed to really refine their art. And I think that's kind of a magic thing that you were talking about as well. That having that audience, having that loop, being able to fine tune to your audience, I think that's one of the big deals with social media as well.
And also for me too, in that, it also, I don't want anything that I do, music or photography or any art, I don't want it to be like everybody else. So like in that same path of okay, here's what people want to see, I'm also looking at so much other work that other people are producing, and it tells me, okay, I don't want to get too close to that, I don't want to get too close to this way. It lets me stay on my unique path as much as possible anyway. So I can fine tune, I can chisel my own, I'm making up a word, uniquity, my own uniquosity. I swear it's very important to me to keep that. And feel free to use those words.
I like it.
I intend to use that as one like peanut butter.
I make up words sometimes, especially when I'm shooting. I've invented such things as swoopy. I've told a model, just can you kind of, when you stand, like kind of swoopy. that still gets, I'm reminded of that one every once in a while when I'm shooting. But yeah, it's really I'm not saying anything and no one's hadn't said already. It puts, my work is being seen by so many people, and it's only getting better, and it's taught me a lot about me personally, about my art and what I do, and ultimately it's just it's just, I don't even know. It's like, it's so powerful. I almost don't know what to say. I just kind of like just stand there going, wow.
Yeah, it's
okay.
that big. It's a game changer.
It totally is. Yeah. I mean, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Kelli, you're new. You're new at photography. You're new to social media. You're just new. But you've made a splash as a result of all this.
I did.
You are.
Yeah, I'm gonna, second or third or fourth the comments that have been made already as far as exposure goes. Clearly, it's a really quick path to exposure, having your images, reach a wide audience. Also, the thing that has been really big for me is just the education portion, which Chris has mentioned, a few times, and that's the only reason I'm sitting here is the education portion. If I didn't have that, people that I've connected with, because I posted something, or I just posted a comment on somebody else's picture, and now the relationship starts to build, and now all of a sudden, I've got somebody here that's willing to help me and give me advice now and then, and it's not some random, hey, your picture sucks, what are you thinking? And everybody gets those, but Google also has a wonderful block feature. But so the education thing is big, because that's the biggest thing for me, is that, and then of course now the exposure and the networking portion is pretty big.
Trey, do you want to chime in on this, Trey? Because I have a question that you might want to chime in on. But do you want to say something about this before I ask this next one? Because they made me think of this next one.
No, you can jump to the next one.
So, and this is one that comes up periodically. So how much do you think, okay, so we get all this feedback, and everybody says, oh, we love that. And you start developing an audience, and you start figuring out what your audience likes, and so on and so forth. So then, how able are you to stick with your art? How much do you start producing for an audience versus producing art for yourself? And like, where do you draw those lines?
Well, it's a very interesting question. I've never had a problem producing art that I love and is meaningful to me, and I think it's wonderful that there's a lot of people out there that enjoy it, and then it adds to their life and gives them ideas or inspiration or whatever. So that's great. Although I do know a lot of people do struggle with this idea of, oh, I should make something that people like, or I should find a balance between what I like and what other people like. And I've been having this conversation a lot with Tom recently, because Tom, he's very interested in the sociological phenomenon of sharing and being online and people's reaction to various stimuli. I think he sees the internet as this giant thought experiment, this huge, Pavlov's dog type thing. And he's always perplexed and vexed at the kind of reactions that his various photos get. And, he thinks personally, and I've told him this, he won't mind me saying, he thinks too much about people's reaction. He's very, very curious about people's reactions. I notice people's reactions, but it's just sort of like rain on an umbrella. I don't get, wet, but I notice that it's there. The same thing goes with good and bad comments. And I've been sharing online for, 5 years now, so I'm just really, really used to it. And also, let me speak just about another topic that's related to this. And I know a lot of photographers. Mostly it's just photographers. They get upset with simple one-word comments like "wow," "cool," or "amazing." But here's my defense of those comments and the people that make them. I've always thought that photographers their main audience should be outside of photography. Photographers spend way too long trying to impress other photographers. And I know that, when you're getting started, or if you're really craving the multi-sentence, polysyllabic feedback of your peers, that's okay if you really want that. But really, your audience is outside of your peers. Your audience is people that don't even understand photography. And think about what it's like when you, a photographer, are watching a discipline that you don't understand. Like a good example is like, let's say you're watching Olympic diving, and some little, 97-pound South Korean does 20 flips and dives in, and there's no splash. Well, you might be sitting there by your friend, and you would say, wow. What do you say? You have no knowledge of the techniques needed to perform that, or you don't know anything about her training or what went into it. You don't even know. So you just kind of come up with these words where you're just aghast at something that impresses you, and you don't have any worthwhile verbiage to wrap around that to give some sort of elitist feedback. So anyway, you're going to get all kinds of comments, good and bad. You'll get critiques from morons. You'll get hate from people that don't understand why you do what you do. A lot of times the hate is people just trying to steer you back in line with what is mainstream, what is acceptable, so that you might be judged fairly by a team of your peers. Ignore that nonsense. Notice it, or you can pay attention to it. You don't have to be oblivious and aloof to it all. You can just sort of notice it, right? Like meteors that bounce off the atmosphere of your planet. You see them. But you can just ignore them, find what's interesting to you. If you think it's pretty and interesting, even if you're not sure what you totally think of it, if it's interesting, just share it out there with the world. It's your duty as an artist to share it, and just kind of notice the feedback and let it just sort of feed your mojo and keep the cycle going forward.
Trey, and I think this is, I've been talking to somebody about this last week. The way the internet has changed for photographers in the last 12 to 24 months is the fact that you're not just now sharing pictures with photographers, but actually your audience is largely non-photographers. Because you look at who are liking pictures on Google+, who are adding us on Google+, and not just on Google+, on other networks as well, because people are now finally using these products like Facebook for pictures or Flickr or whatever. And so it's really changed. And you kind of have to keep that in mind and appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the photographers that were so nice to me when I first came onto Google+, and I didn't have any pictures to post. I wasn't a photographer. I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But sometimes all I had to say was cool. But most of the time, whatever comment I left was how the image made me feel. How awesome it was. Oh my gosh, I love, that little thingy there, and that looks like a bug, or and photographers are really sweet about it. And the ones that weren't, I stopped commenting on their stuff.
And it's also, the lowest amount of appreciation somebody could give you is not interacting at all. Then the next step up from there of, hey, I actually noticed your work enough, I'll +1 it or like it or whatever network you're using. If they actually go out of their way to be a vocal minority that says, wow, this image moved me, they really went out of their way, because for every comment you get, there's thousands of people who never bothered. So from that perspective, I love any comment I get, because, hey, you cared enough to leave that comment.
Yeah, but there's a very, very, very fine line there, and I have my own little anecdote, and it kind of goes to what Jaime was saying about, Jaime has a very healthy attitude, and I respect it a lot. He has his own definition of what his art is, what it appeals to him. Now, I was talking with a good friend of mine who's a photographer here in G+, and I remember he asked me, oh, hey, did you see my shot today? And I said, no, I didn't. And so I went over there to his shot, and I said, oh, yeah, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, his response was something like, yeah, it's doing okay on Google. And I thought that was such a telling response. So what is exactly that to me? If that is the case, that you're basing the success or how much you like the shot or how good it is based on the number of +1s or comments or whether it makes it to what's hot or any other arbitrary statistic, that to me is a very, very dangerous place for especially new photographers to go to, because it stifles. It stifles, and it's like, oh man, if I don't get comments, maybe I'm just, a crap photographer. And sad state of affairs that we need to really be very, very careful about. You need to. I was with Jay Patel this weekend, and he said to me, "I know I'm an awesome photographer," and I was like, "That is a really." There's also a line there crossing with being truly egotistical to the point where you don't need feedback. Or everyone has room to grow, but believing in yourself, believing that I could put a shot up, and if it doesn't get anything, that's great. I put it out there to put it out there. That's my motivation. I want to share it. Only bad photos, ones that's not shared. So it's a lot of good points are made here, but I really, really resonate with Jaime that it's my art, and Trey, God, if anyone here has kind of been lambasted over just doing what they think they like. So keep it real is really bad.
And I just wanted to chime in too, like for a lot of photographers, like the newer people, that they will take a negative comment and they just let it it eviscerates them sometimes. And all I have to say to that is like something my father used to tell me. He says, it is the empty truck that makes the most noise. And think about that, and it's true. And I think it's just people. I think in a way, even that's a compliment because you're making people go, oh. Yeah. Because I used to judge how good somebody else's photo was by how I'm just in a relative sense, like how jealous it made me. I would look at a photo and go, oh, I wish I took that. I wish I took that. It's like, but now I look at that as I celebrate that photo. And I was like, that's so good. I wish I did it. So good on you, But yeah, you just have to, you do have to kind of grow a slightly thicker skin, I think, especially when you put your work out there in front of this many people that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a huge audience.
I think it's kind of both true. I mean, maybe I'm the most junior photographer here. I mean, I've been shooting for a year and a half, I think now. And half of, and you, absolutely. High five. So a lot of times I don't know if a good image is a good image until I put it out there, because it's one of those you don't see the forest through the trees kind of situation. I just don't feel experienced enough yet to be able to step back and say, yes, that is it. I'm just not at that point yet. Sometimes I need to throw some mud against the wall and see if it will stick. I need that outside perspective to be able to analyze the work that I've done. And then I see some of the comments and I go, wow, I had no idea you would see that in there. I kind of felt it. I was just not conscious of it. So in that regard, I mean, I do like that interaction and it does have value. I've also gotten negative comments, and I just think of them as poopy heads, and the term alone already kind of makes them not take them seriously.
I mean, here's the thing, and this I cannot stress this enough, and it's a topic that RC and I are even talking offline, and it's very, very near and dear to me. Find a mentor. There's too much static. There's positive, negative comments, plus ones, all this sharing and stuff. It's great, but it's ultimately static. And what you need to do is you find someone who you trust, who has the time, because you don't want to find a mentor who's just kind of blowing smoke. And you confide in them and let them tear you apart. And that's one of the ways that you grow, is through mentorships. And I see Ron Clifford, with the mentor program that both you ladies here, Karen and Kelly, can talk about. It's critical that, to me, for me, I had a mentor, and it's not about name drop. It's not about this, but I was fortunate in my job now that I have access to people who are amazing photographers, and I confided in one, and he became a mentor. And my work, I feel comfortable to say, has grown by an order of magnitude. And so that's what I think people should be focusing on as their one of their primary growth channels. is a mentor, or a few.
Mm-hmm. I have a question for Chris. Chris, because you are such a social media evangelist, as it were, what do you hope? I mean, we know that it's really accelerated and it's done all these amazing things to date. What do you hope for the future? If you could design, a change or envision the defined direction that this could all go, what do you hope for the future?
Oh, no, that is an overloaded question with so many answers.
I know, so pick a piece.
I'm going to reply with a small story again. I hope you humor me. Like, one of the stories that, as an engineer, fascinates me is how the space shuttle and the horses behind are related to each other. And it turns out that the first roads in the world were built by the Romans, and the Romans had a cart pulled by 2 horses. So that's how wide the cart was. So when people in the future build cars and trains and trams and all that jazz, the existing roads were exactly 2 horses' asses wide, so that's how they built everything else as well. So by the time we got to the space shuttle a few thousand years later, they had to use the railroad track, which was based on the old roads, which was based on the old horse and carriages of the Romans, who had 2 horses behind the carriage. So there's a direct correlation between such incredibly old standards and modern things like the space shuttle. So these kind of standards permeate through history, and we kind of take them for granted without ever thinking about them. So that's kind of the point I'm trying to make with the story, is that there's a lot of things we accept as reality just because they've always been that way. That doesn't mean they're necessarily the best thing or what will be in the future, right? So with that lesson in mind, one of the comparisons you can make is like democracy. Democracy in the election system is completely based on the fact that you have to put a guy on a horse and you set him to a city far away, and he would have to travel for weeks or months on end to get to the capital and then represent your state or city or country. And that system had to work because if every time people had to travel for weeks to make a choice on something that needed to be acted on now, a country will be paralyzed. So the entire democratic system is based on the assumption that it takes weeks for a message to go between cities. Nowadays, we have the internet, and that's not true anymore. So the basic 4-year election cycles, the basic we have somebody representing us in a faraway city, they don't necessarily have to hold true. And I don't know what the replacement of it is going to be in the future. I just know that just the basic assumption was that the best way to get news was printed on paper. Now, that's slow, that's expensive, it washes away in the rain, and you have to get it in the morning and it's already a day-old news. We have better solutions for that now. The best way to talk to each other, the best way to communicate over long distances, they've all changed majorly. And I think we've only seen the beginning of how those basic assumptions are going to change. So I think this future is going to look very different from how it looks now.
Yeah, I think so too. I have to chime in here with, everything that you guys are saying. We're sitting here on a hangout, and I work in the broadcast industry, have for many, many years when I was an actor, in front of the camera and as a voice, professional. And now we're doing these hangouts. And was it Brian, I think, was talking earlier about if we all have these capabilities at our fingertips. So who's going to be type A enough to grab it and go do something with it? So in my tiny little mind, I'm watching all this Hangout and, TWiT TV and all this stuff developing going, wow, broadcast industry ought to be as scared as it is right now, because it is. They are pretty much running scared. And I'm just curious, as an artist, I'm not exactly sure what the question is, but as an artist with this developing, social media thing that we're all involved in, how important or what role or how excited are you, or how do you see the visual medium playing into the future of artists and social media and our success and our development? Because
can I prelude that with one other observation?
Yeah.
I think one of the interesting changes is that as we're moving through time, in the beginning we lived in tribes, and then we lived in cities, and then we got all these great solutions to reach a lot of people at the same time, because you can't talk to 1 million people at the same time, right? So we got broadcasting towers and newspapers and television stations and all that jazz, but that was a one-to-many form of conversation. I would write something and then I would broadcast it over the television to millions of people who couldn't talk back to me. They couldn't have a connection with me. They didn't see me as a human being. I was just a brand on the TV that you can't talk back to. So if anything is the major change with social media is that everybody can talk with everybody now, real time, without needing to own a television. And I think that's one of the big things where a lot of the artists on the show tonight, if you look at Trey, etc., they're really good in understanding that it's now about building social relationships with other human beings. It's not about saying, here's a message and you can't change it or reply to it. And that is completely different.
Yeah. I think there's kind of a human revolution that's rebelling against being lied to and information being withheld and everything being hidden. Now
it was controlled, and now it's kind of up to us again. That's a big change.
Very exciting. What's our time? Oh, we're good. We're sailing. I love this. Brian, what do you think about art competitions?
I think they're very healthy. I mean, as long as it's a legitimate art competition and the judges, know a thing or two about photography and competition judging, I think it's healthy. It's definitely one of the ways that I've seen like lists on how to improve your game. One of them is always enter competitions. So I'm a fan of it. I haven't really entered any competitions, not because. You say competition, everyone starts going up in arms about, terms of use of images and this and that and the other thing. I just haven't, just because I haven't had much time to. But I think it's awesome. I think it's a lot of fun to try. I'll give a big shout out also to, the scavenger hunt by Krista Ray. That is a kind of another of the people by the people for the people competition on a massive scale that. People are trying to just kind of think outside of the box, and if you don't challenge it, okay, fine. If you don't challenge yourself just to go out and do something that you haven't done before, let the competition itself, the body of the competition, challenge you. One way or the other, you have to kind of move forward. Shooting the same thing over and over, it'll get you good for a while, but personally, for yourself, you'll want to kind of evolve.
Yeah. Jaime, what do you think about competition?
I'm not a competitive person, but that doesn't mean competition is a bad thing, Like I guess in the spirit of bringing people together, then it's good. But I don't know. Just for me, I just I don't buy into the notion of my art is better than that person's art or that. I think a lot of the competitions that I see though aren't really of that nature. They're just about unifying artists to get involved and just makes them more proactive in their art. But I'm not a competitive person. Like I don't like sports ever. I've never played sports. I was the kid who stayed in his room and played guitar and painted stuff, but never. The only sport I ever played was tennis. But I did that, and this is relevant because I didn't do it to beat my friend on the court. I did it to hang out with my friend on the court. Matter of fact, I played tennis almost every day with the same guy who always beat me. I never won against him. And for 2 years, I played with him. So therein is my answer to that question, if this makes any sense. I loved that we were playing the game, but it wasn't for me to win. I think, and it isn't there some crossover here somewhere?
Oh, perfect. I mean,
good. Okay.
No, it is just my opinion, but you illustrated it really well with the analogy to tennis, where that's the thing, Karen, about competitions that I see a lot. Is people bleed animosity into it. It's not fun. It's ugly. It's competition in like an ugly way. Like and whereas I see everyone here as a contemporary, and I don't think I'll ever strive to reach Jaime's caliber of work just because it's on a different plane that I currently think, the way I currently see. However, and if I lost to him in a competition for whatever reason, I would be thrilled. because the art that he puts out is fantastic. And as an artist, as a photographer, that's what I'm looking for is amazing art. When I don't care who it's from, but if it's from me, even better. But I just want to see good stuff. And that's ultimately what I think. Jaime, tell me if I'm kind of paraphrasing incorrectly, but I think what we see a lot of is this kind of ugliness, even if it's coated in a little bit of saccharin. It's go ahead.
No. I was saying, yeah, I totally agree with you, and I couldn't put it into those words, but thank you for doing that, because that's basically what I was trying to get at.
I got you.
Competition can be a healthy thing in a community sense. Like my friend that beat my butt every day on the tennis court. He knew he was going to win, and I knew I was going to lose, but still, every day, even in the rain a couple of times, I remember.
And
I don't know.
For me, for example, was one of the hardest thing when we were putting a book together, was the fact that we had to exclude certain images from the print book because we just didn't have enough space. We're going to run into the same problem with the magazine, where we can't publish every image that's going to be submitted, so we're going to have to make a selection, and you upset people. And so that kind of almost goes against the whole spirit of community. And so that can be a problem. And I think that's generally the spirit of any competition. Even if you have 100 winners and you had 1,000 entries, you still upset 90% of your community by telling them that their work is not good enough, even though that's not what you meant. No matter what the selection process is, that's not what you never mean. You just have to make a selection, and it based on all kinds of factors. But that's how people take it. And that's why I personally try not to enter any competitions and all that, because that's just some of the indirect message you may get. You may think about your own work.
Exactly.
But keep in mind, I mean, we are fueled by motivation, and one form of motivation is friendly competition. And of course, negative competition never pull people ahead. But going, oh, I wish I could do better than you next time. That's okay. That fuels us, that motivates us. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
What, everybody, has surprised you the most about social media and your involvement and artists? I know we've talked about a lot of things that surprised us, but the expectation, was that things would grow and we'd have more exposure and so on and so forth. I should make this a two-parter. What has surprised you the most? What has disappointed you the most? And anybody can chime in.
I have one. It's a kind of a unique to me thing. I think I don't know anybody else that has a story like that. Hopefully there are some other people, but sparing a lot of the ugly details. I remember I was at rock bottom. I was starving. I had no work. I mean, I had lost about 35 pounds of weight. Imagine this frame. I'm like 175 right now. Imagine me 35 pounds lighter. That wasn't that per choice. It was just because I couldn't afford food. It was that bad. And my following on DeviantArt came together, and they raised money for me and brought me back to life again. And it was, thanks to them, that I'm back in Austin, Texas again, and I'm happy and I'm not starving. And that thing just, I don't know if I've never really been moved to tears by someone's actions, but that was definitely one thing I will never forget ever. And people raising money just for a person they don't even know. I mean, they know my work, and I do write journal entries and stuff, and I'm pretty open with my life, and I don't have any big secrets or anything, but they don't know me. And just that thing that happened, I will always talk about how amazing that was. I don't mean to get away from, hopefully it's answering the question, but
no,
in my world, that was the thing that just touched me like I can't even describe. It's just ineffable. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And I love that we're seeing a lot of those kind of things happening in Google Plus as well. Like Corey Finsk You know, she's a girl with MS, she's bedridden. And people started doing like hangout photo walks. They put their cell phone on their camera and she could see other cities and beaches and the world around her through other people's photo walks. And I thought it was so touching. She had some problem with her medicine recently. So what people did was they took turns to watch her sleep because there's a risk she could stop breathing in her sleep. So she had all these people line up in the hangouts, making sure that she was still doing okay and they could dial 911 if something did go wrong. That is just so touching that these things are happening. And I've got a micro version of that myself as well. There was Lee Daniels. She's a lady who got in some trouble. She had an infection, got dehydrated. And some people at some point went, she's not on Google Plus anymore. I wonder what's up. And after a little while, they went by there. They saw she wasn't in the bestest of place. They took her to the hospital, which probably saved her frigging life, you know. And they made sure that her house was clean again. She was eating again, getting hydrated again. When I heard that story, I sent one of my own old cameras to her because apparently she had to sell her all gear, but she was a photographer. And we know what it's like when you can't do your passion anymore. It's really difficult to heal again in life. Mm-hmm. So it's like, damn it, I'm just going to send it over and make sure that she can do the stuff that makes her feel good again. Yeah. And there's so many of these stories happening everywhere because of social media.
Yeah, and Tamara Krusner and her husband were the ones who helped Lee.
And, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're on Life. She's on Life Through the Lens, I might add.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
What has either surprised or disappointed you, Kelly?
There are no disappointments. I think that I am surprised at the level of connection that people are getting, myself included. I acquired myself, a mentor or two in the beginning, and that was just because a couple of photographers were just so nice. The one I'll constantly mention is Helen Soteriadis, because it was just with comments that I made on her images, and she hanging out with her, and and her seeing that I had an interest, and just like that, she took me under her wing and helped me out. I mean, who would have thought that would happen just from commenting? And now I consider her a dear friend. I have so many dear friends from this that I never would have thought I would have. I mean, really friends that I would consider having, forever. I can't even imagine not having them in my world.
Yeah.
And so that's really huge for me. No disappointments.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, yeah. Not anybody else. Does anybody have a disappointment? Has anybody either been surprised, not in a good way, or just actually outright disappointed by what they've seen in social media from our experiences? Just curious.
I got a death threat one time. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
From my controversial image with the model with the Native American headdress.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That ruffled some, no pun intended, ruffled some feathers, but yeah.
That was a nice pun though, even though it wasn't intended.
Hey, show us the photo, Jaime, so people know how culturally sensitive you are.
I would love to just show it to you for the colors, and hopefully you don't want to kill me.
Yeah,
because of
lay
it.
waste to like Sherman, just burning every bridge.
I'm going to my own. Got to find out where the heck I have it online.
And in fact, this is a good. While you're looking, we're gonna actually. This will be a great segue to share some of our Google Plus discoveries, like Trey said, next, because we all like looking at pictures, and I know I never see enough of the young and up and coming photographers, and I want to. So I always love these segments because I get to see all the cool guys are. So,
Karen, you are a real broadcast professional pro to be able to segue from racism into that.
Nice.
Right?
There ain't nothing I can segue, okay? You know what I'm saying? Everything's got a thread.
But I mean, one of the things I did want to mention is that I've had my situations as well where people went bonkers. I presume it's because they had their own issues in their life and they take it out on others. I do love that on social media there's a block function that works really well.
On Google Plus there is.
Yeah.
I love that. I've utilized that. I've worked that one very.
Oh, yeah, me too. That's one of my favorite buttons.
Mine too. I have to say.
Hey, so tell us about this image, Jaime.
We, as you know, Trey, there's this amazing costume rental shop here in Austin, Texas, called Lucy in Disguise. It's obviously a nod to the Beatles song "Lucy in the Sky." So I go in there with whatever model I'm going to shoot with. Sometimes we just go plonk around in the shop and just come up with stuff. And she found this. She found the headdress, and we chose it because it was available and it was pretty, and we had enough money to get to rent that. We didn't have a lot of cash on hand that day. That's it. That's the only reason we did it. It's pretty. And I maintain that it is pretty, and oh man, the pot that was stirred, so what a swizzle! It continues to be, but I don't know. I stand by it. The model stands by it, and that's it. It's just we did it because it's cool.
It's beautiful.
That's it.
Very, very cool. So, Brian Matiash, do you have a discovery that you would like to share with us?
Yes, I do. And I'm actually I'm still so enamored with this person that I'm going to share, the same person from Life Through the Lens that I shared last week.
It's not Nicole, is it?
It's not Nicole.
He doesn't share Nicole, Trey. There's no sharing.
He doesn't share.
No. That's a closed door, my friend.
No, I want to share Sarah Jarrett. I absolutely love her. We discussed this on the show last week, and I've been kind of in this texture overlay, kind of high concept, high graphic look, and she just fits the bill, Sarah does, and I love promoting her just because of how creative her stuff is. And it's just very, very natural. Everything she does, the elements kind of fit together in a way that it just kind of accentuates the scene, which I think is the absolute best use of. Sorry, you see, I'm very easily distracted. I also talked about my attention span on that show. But that's I'm going to put the link in the chat here. Everyone's chatting at me at once.
Hey, Brian, move your window over to the left a little bit. Make it bigger.
My window to the left. Okay. Yes, the famous white space. What should I put over here? Anyway, Sarah Jarrett is, in my opinion, one of the best finds here in Google Plus for me in a long time. She's just fantastic. Let me go on one of her. Yeah, I love this.
Cover up the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Cover up the chat. Oh, yes. Where's Leo when you...
Brian Matiash is a professional. Do not try this at home.
I tried to be all subtle about it. Make the window bigger to the left.
And here I'm just reading it that looks great. Yeah, so that's it. Let's move onward and upward, shall we?
I don't know. That was really kind of fun. That was actually way more entertaining than I was expecting. So I'd like to thank you personally for that.
Of course.
Chris Chabot, have you got a G Plus discovery for us? Is he on
Chris,
mute still?
Muted.
Yeah, Chris might be muted.
You scared him.
There we go. That should be a lot better, right?
There we go.
So let's see how the screen share thing works in Google+. I'm kidding. So I kind of figured, to stay on topic, the artist who are growing because of social media. It's a friend of mine, Barry Blanchard.
Yes.
And Barry Blanchard got invited in the early days of Google+. He was kind of into photography, but, it was one of those latent talent kind of things. That's what I keep telling myself anyway. And he discovered people like Trey, Ratcliff, and other photographers on Google+. He chatted with them a little bit, and he got incredibly inspired. And it's been really fun in the last, I guess it's almost a year now, to have seen him grown from just a hobby photographer to what I would call like almost an artist. So he does a lot of these landscapes. He lives in Santa Cruz, so he's got a lot of this kind of stuff going on. He's got these wonderful beaches and sunsets. And when I look at images like this, I go, wow. It might be the one-letter kind of comment. Sorry about that, but wow.
Sometimes that's all you can say, though.
Yeah, I know. And that's for a big part what I do feel with his work.
Yeah.
So it's moving in a way, right? This was with a road trip we did together. We went to New Mexico to see the very large array. We did the Grand Canyon and some other locations there. And his work has really reached a level where I will call him an artist now. And a large part of that is because his mentor was Google+, and that really inspired me.
Wow.
So that was my discovery.
We love Zarberry.
Yes, we do. He's crazy awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yvonne, what do you got? What do you got for us besides a book full of about 1 million photos?
I have something that's slightly different than this. I'm fascinated with this whole cross between established photographers that are well known in the fine art circles versus people who are not in those circles, who are just up-and-coming artists or photographers or newbies, whatever. And my discovery, I think quite a few people discovered him recently. If they didn't know his name, is a photographer called Mitch Dobrowner. Let me show you what I mean here. He was he won an award by Sony for doing some really amazing work with these landscapes that he does.
Wow.
And I'm trying to move here. So he does these really amazing black and white images, and he's actually on Google+. You can find him, Mitch Dobrowner, and I've known his work for many years. I bought prints. I own about 20 or 30 of his prints, and I had him hanging in my living room until we moved recently, and I will hang them back up. And he's on Google+, and for me it was amazing because I added him and we had conversations. Here was the guy whose work I've admired for many years, and he commented on some of my images. I asked him questions about his images, and we're able to interact. So he's a very well-known guy in the gallery circles. Obviously, like I said, just won the award from Sony for his Storm series right here, where he was chasing the storms all over the Southwest where there's stormy areas. I mean, you just look at this image right there.
Wow.
It tells you about the scale of his work and how he has a very signature black and white style. Ansel Adams had his back in the day. I think Mitch Dobrowner has his very unique style that I can recognize his images among any others. Very powerful, very high contrast, kind of a great dynamic range in his images. And there he is on Google+. You can add him and you can talk to him, and he typically answers when you ask him questions. So that's something that wasn't possible 5 years ago when I first discovered him. But yet there he is, taking these amazing images and interacting with his fans.
New Yorker, Long Islander. I see he's in Bethpage, New York.
Yeah.
Right on, yeah. Holla.
Amazing. Wow.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just added him right now.
Yeah.
And for everybody watching live on the TWiT channel or in the chat room, when I repost this, we will plus mention all these people so that you can circle them more easily, because I know it's kind of hard to do through this live format to search for them and whatnot. Okay. Who's next? Is it
Jaime Ibarra?
Jaime.
I'm kind of cheating because I didn't discover this person on Google+, but you will when I alert you to his existence. And
discovery is imminent.
Yeah, just to pump up push some air into this. I like artists, and this is true, like photographers, painters, musicians whose work I can identify out of a lineup really easily and very quickly, and their uniquitosity is undeniable. And this man, he named Nick Fury. I'm gonna try to share my screen here. Hold on a second. And this guy just blows me away. And are we sharing now? Okay.
Yeah.
So when I met him, he was using a very simple point and shoot camera. He didn't have, I'll tell rather than tell you what he didn't have editing, software wise, I'll tell you what he did have was a copy of Macromedia. This is pre-Adobe, by the way. Macromedia Fireworks. That's what he was editing his photos in. And I asked him why, and he says, "That's what I had, and it has layers. It has layers in it." I was like, oh, "Wow!" And his colors and his work they're so consistent, and the mood is so consistent, and his eye he was just born to do this, in my opinion. And it's a little on the dark side. And is it cool if a nipple makes an appearance here? Because it very well may happen. Is that permissible?
I think TWiT might not be happy about that.
Let me stay away from.
It's kind of against the Google terms of service.
That says Tony. Tony, what's your policy on little nip nip?
Too late.
So yeah, this is Nick, and I just admire his consistency, and I admire his vision, and like I said, a little on the dark side.
Love it.
That doesn't scare me away by any means. Like,
totally added him already.
yeah. So
It's so good.
do yourself a favor and flick through some of his stuff, and it's just amazing. He does so much with so little, and yet if you have a vision, your vision will be seen quite clearly. Despite the little equipment that you have. I think I like him because it was kind of like me. Like, I don't have a lot of equipment. It's just me and my camera, and that's it. I don't own lights. I don't own anything other than my camera and my lens. Well, actually, now I have 2 lenses. But for like years and years and years, it's just one. But that's my discovery.
Wow.
I love when people share photographers that they love, because I feel like I've just had like my own personal shopper go out and pluck me stuff that I might like. Yeah, that'll fit you. Oh yeah, I look totally hot in that. Click.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's
That's
fantastic.
really good.
I guess you want me to do one, right, Trey? We're getting close though. Huh?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. I always get nervous when I do this part. So here we are.
Come on, Karen. Come on. Hurry.
Come on. Don't screw it up. You're hosting.
Reminds me of Sam Kinison. Do it.
Do it. All right. There's that. And here's this. So this gentleman's name is, I'm not sure exactly, Klaus-Peter Kubik. I just discovered him today, interestingly enough. Come on. Can you see?
Yes.
And I'm choosing his architecture color because I think I'll start here. Because there's just something kind of mesmerizing about his sense of line and schwoople. Jaime, I said that for you.
Very, very good.
I just love the motion in a static image like that. And I mean, how often can you shoot blue sky and have it work out? I just think that's amazing. That's cool. That is really neat. And this is like dedicated to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. But it's so modern and so old. And this just makes me nuts.
Whoa. Yeah.
It just is, I just think, I don't know, his just sense of line and flow. There's a couple of swoop. That just kind of makes me crazy.
That's very cool because architecture tend to be a black and white subject. People want to emphasize lines and shapes and angles, and they don't care about the color. But what you're showing us here is how color could be used greatly that way too.
And his color palette that he uses, it's a little bit different. And I even love this little series because everybody goes, oh, that's too nothing. But it's not. It's really neat. So he does some kind of real normal things too. But his architectural stuff in his line, this just happened. And he does some other artistic kinds of work as well. But I really like.
Very cool.
I really like his work very much.
Cool discovery.
Miss Kelly.
Him too. All right. Let's see here. Hopefully this will do it. Okay. How are we? You see him?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and David Pairé or something like that. He's in France, I believe. He's a graphic artist, a photographer. He does a lot of book covers, designs a lot of book covers, and I totally dig his stuff. He's heavy on the textures and very surreal. Totally love him.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, there's something about awesome uses of texture with these kinds of images.
Right?
Awesome.
On the darker side, that's pretty soft for him. But even something as simple as this, I totally love. I think this was a book cover.
Ooh, I love that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the game. So let me get out and see some of the ones of his. He has this red balloon shows up every now and then in some of his shots. Very cool. I love that. Just magical. I not quite this side of the dimension, but I love the textures, love the darkness, love the just the feeling of not really being of this.
And what's
plane.
his name again?
David Pairé, Paire. I will get the link for him. But yeah, I totally just can't get enough.
I just say this group has exquisite taste. You can personal shop and photos from me. I'm just saying.
Right?
Yeah.
I think everybody's introductions have just pissed me off so much. I'm so jealous. That's how good they are. I was like, I'm leaving. That's it. Seriously, there's a bunch of really good work that I've seen. So, like, wow.
Well, I think that Trey Ratcliff is going to share one and then take us out. Trey.
Yes, I will. So here's my discovery, and then we'll go into the little bonus time after that.
Going into the bonus round, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, screen share over here. So here's my discovery. Her name is Tanya Rochat. I think that's how you say it. I don't know.
I think you're right.
Yeah, she is really cool. She's not really a photographer. She does very much her own thing. Let me switch over to this. And let me go to one of her albums here. I'm sorry, I thought I had it selected. So she really does these fantasy matte paintings that are crazy. They're so good. And one reason I'm super excited about her, just besides her being an amazing artist, is she is writing a full how-to book for flatbooks.com about how she does this kind of thing, like from the beginning to the end. And, you know, I've always loved matte paintings. You know, I started looking at matte paintings, I guess, for Star Wars back in the day, and then I've looked at them all through, you know, I love movies, and I love these things these artists do in the background of these movies. I've always wanted to try it, and it just always seems so epic and amazing. And whatever is in your mind, it seems like you can just kind of just lay it out on paper. And I've always wanted to do it. I've never tried it. I'm super, you know, matte painting curious. And so I'll be the first one to buy her book. This is mostly just for selfish reasons, by the way, but I'll buy it, and I want to try this stuff because, man, how fun would it be just to be able to pull something out of your brain and just make this stuff?
Does she use photographic elements, or is it all painting?
Well, that'll be in the book, Karen. I don't know. Yeah.
Good answer, Trey.
I don't know. Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes, but if you head over to flatbooks.com and sign up for the newsletter, you'll be the first to find out when it rolls out to the world. All right, well, before I go to this little personal time, Karen, I want to thank you again for doing this and inviting all these excellent guests. Obviously, I just kind of sat back. I didn't want to, get in people's way and let them say what they had to say, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you, everybody, very much for that.
You are so welcome.
Thank you. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to show you a few new things that I've taken while here in Virgin Gorda, and I'll kind of talk through some of the shots because I'm still getting to know this smaller mirrorless Sony NEX7. Let me go ahead and share my iPhoto. And also, I took a few photos. I woke up this morning very early to get the sunrise with my D800, so I'll share some of those as well.
Actually, Trey, before you go on, I actually have to bow out, but I wanted to thank you and Karen and Dave and everyone else for letting me on.
How much are you thanking us? Enough to bow for us?
Are you literally going to bow out?
Because I would actually like to see that.
Crawling is fine too. Crawling will work.
So Brian Matiash is going to be leaving us. 1, 2, 3. Bow.
Oh, man. You notice his very curious reluctance to stand up.
You have a theory about that, Trey Ratcliff. What is that theory?
I don't know, but he was budging, was he? He sat there. He was not going to stand up. I don't know what's going on in that house, but okay.
Pants optional hangout, right? Isn't that?
Wait a minute. None of you are standing up, are you?
Okay.
What happens in the hangout stays in the hangout, right?
Right.
Okay, let me share this thing. Sorry, guys. I know I should be used to this by now. Okay.
Hey, real quick, I'm just going to plug TWiT Photo for tomorrow. We got Frederick Van Johnson co-hosting with Sarah Lane with their guest, Derek Story.
Awesome.
Okay, yeah. Everyone tune in to TWiT for that. Okay, so this is... I'm going to take this full screen. I hope it gets rid of the thing. Does that look full screen to you guys now?
Make it wider.
I can't. It's full screen.
No, it's not full screen for us.
Oh. Okay, well, I guess I can't. You'll just see my little things over there. Sorry. Well, anyway, so this is my family about to get on a plane in San Juan. We got on that little plane and flew over here to Virgin Gorda. And this is with a Sony NEX7. There's this kind of shaft of sunlight down on the plane, and there's a storm beyond. So it shoots RAW files. I pulled that RAW file into Photomatics and kind of made a sort of my HDR out of this. I think it came out pretty cool.
That is so awesome. Cool.
This one is
awesome.
This one is using the in-camera HDR. So it's really interesting. It's pretty hit or miss. I think this one came out pretty cool, actually. Because outside, I was in the co-pilot seat, and outside, it was super bright. You know how planes are. And what it does is the NEX7 takes 3 photos super quick, and it builds them all together. It says processing, and it takes about 7 seconds, and then it spits this out. And there's never any ghosting. I don't know really how it chooses what to ghost or what not to ghost, but you can zoom way in because this is a 24 megapixel camera, right? So you can get way in there, see all this stuff. You see all the scratches on the glass. It's really sharp. Just really remarkable.
It has a very vintage cinematic kind of feel to it,
Yeah.
Makes me airsick just looking at it, so I'd like to thank you for that.
So here is out the plane window. This is just a regular RAW. This is a really cool area of this island called the Baths. Princess Diana visited this island. She thought it was the most beautiful place in the world. When you zoom in, I'll show you some things here when I zoom in. So there's all these big boulders that are kind of out in the water, these sort of square and strange boulders, and all these beaches and secret caves that connect all these little beaches. And whoops, uh-oh. And here is the place that we're staying this second week. If I can find it. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? Oh, here it is. These 4 little huts here, nestled in here. This is a place called Toad Hall, and so my family's staying here, but we're also bringing down the team from Stuck in Customs. They're all coming down to spend a week kind of just having fun and brainstorming and coming up with new stuff. And so we'll kind of hang out there, then we can kind of walk through this little path out to this beach, and then we'll see this. This is what it looks like down there. This is taken with the NEX7 also. This is just one raw file. This is not HDR or anything. I did do Lightroom adjustments. And I think it's just really, really sharp. So let me zoom in here. I'll show you the sailboat here in the distance.
Hey, Yvonne's taken off. I just want to say bye to Yvonne for coming. Thanks.
Okay, bye, Yvonne. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Thanks,
Yvonne.
Thanks.
See you Friday.
Oh, Trey and Karen, if you guys want to give away the hat, just have them email me, whoever gets the hat, at yvonne@smugmug.com with the address.
Hey, Yvonne, would you mind? You can jump into the thread and you can award it yourself.
I'll do it right now.
Better if you do it. Okay,
thanks, guys.
Thank you. Here's another one. This is just a single raw right out of the camera with some Lightroom adjustments. This is the kind of stuff that I used to use a big DSLR to get. But, I mean, I'm happy with that. It's 1/4 the size, 1/4 the weight.
Do you think you'll start just using your bigger camera for the more epic shots and use your little one?
That is kind of what I've been doing, Karen. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it looked like it, but yeah.
Here's another in-camera HDR. I don't think I like this, but it's just kind of weird. This is a little cave thing. The textures and colors came out kind of interesting. Here's a really good example. This is my son jumping in off a rock. And when you shoot in this one mode, you get 10 frames per second. And I was able to get 10 shots of him in the air and kind of pick the best one. And because it is, all in focus, everything's perfect. And because it is a 24 megapixel camera, I can zoom in like this, right? This is him. And even this little crop in is still 1,500 pixels high. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Wow.
I don't even think my DSLR could do, I guess maybe, I don't know how fast a D3S is or a D4 is, but man, it's really nice. So now these next ones are with my D800 this morning. And, this will kind of give you an idea of, like, when I go shoot a sunrise, how many different angles I get. I'm going to show you 4 different pictures I took, and I'll probably only release one of them. So typically when I'm at a sunrise or a sunset, I'll do a lot of different shots, and I'll just pick one to release. So you can kind of see my thought process, too. So that's the first one. This is the second one. This is sort of a vertical composition. Sometimes I like to put the ocean way at the bottom, the sun way at the bottom, and have things dither up. This one's a little bit of a pano. I don't really like to release panos because they're so hard to view on the web. They require people to click in, and the little banner is so small. People just don't click on stuff to make it big and scroll around. No matter how much you want them to open up your little special panorama viewer, nobody ever does it. So I just don't like clicking on. I just don't like uploading them, even though I do like them. And here's the last one. I took this with a 28 to 300 millimeter lens. I just kind of zoomed in right when the sun got up there and was kind of shining down through the clouds. So anyway, yeah, Karen, that's a pretty good way to say it. Is let me unscreen share. I still use the D800 for like what I feel like are the big kind of epic shots. And I used to carry on another DSLR, my D3S, to get these other shots throughout the day. Mm-hmm. But really, the NEX7 has replaced that, and I really love it. So anyway, I'm going to add these photos and the EXIF info and all that stuff to my 2 new reviews for the NEX7 and for the D800.
Nice.
But I kind of want to share them here first with you.
That's pretty huge. That's pretty huge news that you're going to, like, moving forward, you're going to do it this way. Yeah?
Yeah, I did it for the past 3 or 4 weeks just as an experiment because, I've been really high on these mirrorless cameras. I do think they're the future. I'm not just saying that. So I thought, well, let me just really use them. And, man, it's great. The lenses are great. Really, every one of those photos I took is with the kit lens. And I do have other lenses, and I swap them in from time to time. But the kit lens is actually really nice. So.
Can I say, Trey, I'm happy that this camera made your good. This was your good rating. This is the Olympus, and I've owned this for 5-6 months now. And I'm like totally happy with it for what it is, So
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Most people really have they don't want to spend ton of money, and so that's why I want to make sure I found a camera that was around $500 that was really, really good. And I think that Micro Four Thirds system and that Olympus camera is a really great one. I hate to advise that people start going down this DSLR path and investing in a ton of lenses. I think this whole idea, there's this old chestnut, or I don't know, that's maybe not the right word. There's this old maybe way of thinking that you just buy a ton of lenses and that you swap out the body as the years go on. But I think that may be slipping away. It's kind of sad too, because I have a lot of Nikon lenses. It's too bad, but that maybe that whole idea of buying a ton of lenses and just swapping out the body every few years, that notion may just kind of fade away as the tidal wave of new technology just kind of overwhelms us.
Because the NEX has those 2 lenses, and so if you want to shoot wide, then you just shoot with your DSLR. I mean, even if you want to shoot wide in a city where you would maybe like to use your NEX, you would have to use your other one. But maybe they'll come out with new lenses.
Well, they're supposed to. The NEX7 uses the Sony E lens system, and there's supposed to be 14 E lenses out by the end of the year. There's already, I don't know, maybe half a dozen or so. But it's a great camera. I know Sergey has it. Keith Barrett has it. I know a lot of people that have it. The guy from Lytro has it. Eric Chang, he has it. It's just I think for that class, I think it's the best out there right now.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. Big. Yeah. Did I say it was huge? It is huge.
The hugosity of it.
The hugosity is occurring as we speak.
Well, did anyone have any miscellaneous stuff or any errata they want to throw in? Chris or Jaime or Kelly?
What's the image that you chose to share? You said you take a few different ones of sunsets or whatnot, and you usually pick one. So what's the one that you would have chosen to share?
I'm still deciding, but I'll probably share that last one, the close-up of the sun. That one feels pretty good to me.
It's a good name for it, too, by the way. Close-up of the sun by Trey.
Just call it Icarus.
And you will have Icarosity.
Yeah, I don't. Do any of you guys have this problem? I have this problem that, but I'm pretty sure it's just me that. So I'm deep in Photoshop and Lightroom, and I'm really enjoying myself. And I've got my Wacom tablet, and I'm playing with the colors, and just really, really into the whole visual art style. Okay, and then I go save it, and I have no idea what the hell to name the thing. It's a real problem because it's almost like a different creative process. I love writing and creating words and being a wordsmith and this and that, but I can't seem to do both at the same time. I have to come back later and give them a clever name.
Me too.
I never named my photos until I started uploading stuff to, sites like DeviantArt where you have to name it something as part of the upload process. I'm like, oh man, it's made me think. It's kind of let me see a whole other dimension to the photo. But I'm with you in that I'm not thinking of the title at any point until I'm done. When it's time to upload the photo, yeah. Just because I have to call it something, and I'm not going to call it 00023.
Right.
I
totally do when I upload mine.
Yeah, that's cool.
But my title, I think
whatever works. Just with me, it was like 00023. But what does that mean?
No, that's not my caption. But I just leave the file name. I'm lazy. I really should not do that. But
a little secret is like I will name my photos something that has just a random word that I just like the sound of that has nothing to do with anything. Clipping. Like, why did you call this clipping? Like, you figure it out. You stare at it for 3 hours and you'll get it eventually. But it didn't mean anything. I'm just throwing words in there just to, okay, I'll call it something.
I usually think of what I'm going to name it when I'm working on it. I usually think of the name is part of why, I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. I'm processing it the way I am.
Yeah.
Usually, on rare occasions, I have it where I just stare at it and I'm like, I can't even name it. I have no idea what this is. It sucks.
Thing one.
It totally sucks. Steaming pile number 1.
That's kind of the artist's prerogative anyway. You can choose to name it whatever you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's used to interesting effects, like, that famous painting that was, I think it was a French artist a couple hundred years ago, and he called it, "This is not a pipe."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the name is part of the process.
Yeah, Magritte was his name. But you know why he called it that? Did you read on about that?
I didn't read on it, so I just have speculations.
It says, well, this is not it's a painting, if you don't, those that don't know, it's a painting of a pipe. It's a very simple painting. And he was asked, well, why did you call it that? He goes, well, because it's not a pipe. It's a painting of a pipe. Because try to put tobacco in it and you can't. It's a painting. It's not a pipe. It's a painting of one. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
you
that's
fit into this crowd really well.
Yeah.
You just fit in seamlessly.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thanks again, Karen, for setting all this stuff up.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking.
Sure. It was a ton of fun, and I hope I have good bandwidth next week. I'm in a different place.
Where are you now?
What's that?
Where are you currently?
Well, I am in currently a place, I got to figure out the name of it. It's really nice. I would recommend this place too. So the place I'm in next week is called Toad Hall, which is a really nice estate. So right now I'm in a place called called Amateras. And if it wasn't dark right now, I'd take you on a tour. And you can get there at amaterasbvi-bvi.com. And for British Virgin Islands, it's a beautiful place. It's like it must be 7,000 or 8,000 square foot home with like 7 bedrooms. You guys are welcome to come down. I've only got 2 of them full. It's like multi-layers. It's up in the boulders. There's swimming pools, and like right now I'm in sort of this gathering room with a giant kitchen, and just there's classical music playing all over. It's very nice. It's
my kids are gonna wake up and wonder where mommy went.
Nice.
No, I mean, it's actually, I sit here and I work on photos, and it's a little bit like The Shining. Yeah, it's a little creepy and lonely sometimes, actually. But so anyway, thank you guys for keeping me company and keeping me from going crazy tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
It's a ton of fun.
Cool, guys. All right. Well, very good. And I'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody else. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.
Bye.